Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Today, I would like to show a couple of customization regarding this access request, and we can talk about attribute creation, how to map the value or not. What is attribute basically? More like a column to store information. Exactly. Attributes are like a placeholder. You see where you can store some value. Right. Here you could see when I open one identity called as admin. I could see lot of attributes are there. First name, last name and manager type. If any attribute belongs to the particular object, in this scenario, these attributes belongs to identity. We can consider this attribute as an identity attribute. Similarly, if any attribute belongs to the particular object, it could be application entitlement role. We can consider it as an application attribute entitled by attribute or role attribute, something like that. Let me open one sample application. Here this application name, owner, application type. These are the actual attributes. It belongs to application. We can call it as application attribute. Same applies to entitlement also. Entitlement roles. Similarly, we can create attributes for 9 different type of object. Identities, application entitlement role. Then we can create attribute for application accounts. Got. Then we can create a first certification server target application, something like that. And one more thing. Whatever attributes came as a predefined attribute, we will consider as a standard attribute. From user name till type, you can consider these attributes as a standard attribute because it's predefined. The moment you got a requirement to introduce new attribute, we will call it as an extended attribute or customized attribute. The global term would be extended, attributed. Maybe we need to store more information regarding identity in the data. Maybe user start date, user end date, user status, maybe user type, then user department, location, region. We need to store a lot of information, right? User, job title and all. Whatever attributes we are going to introduce, we will consider it as an extended attribute. Today, we are going to learn how to create this extended attribute and how to store the value, how to map the value. That's it. Are we clear, far? Rima Mangapan Kumar Sakshi Sujenya. Yes, Sakshish. Yes, Sakshish. I think if I'm not wrong, already we talk about the identity attribute creation. If you get a requirement to create attributes for identity, then you have to navigate to a gear icon global setting, then click on identity mapping. From here, we can introduce a new attribute, which is extended attribute. Maybe we need to introduce attribute called department. You can define from there. This attribute needs to be, the attribute value needs to be mapped. Now, that's a different scenario, but we'll learn first how to create. Here I have added attributes called department. Now go to Identity Warehouse and check it won't reflect. Because when you're going to add new attribute for identities, you have to follow 2 steps. One, you have to ensure it needs to be added from identity attribute. 2, you have to navigate to debug page. Then click on UI config. From here also, you have to add under identity view attributes. After administrator, we can add. I have added a department attribute. This is how we have to introduce attribute for identity. Now department attribute is getting appear over here. Let's say, what about the whatever value we are going to map, it needs to be stored under database also. In such scenarios, sometimes we may need to create column in the database. If you came across these requirements, then you have to get in touch with database team and DB admin, and you have to ask them to create a new column. Now let's learn how to map the value, because since it's identity information, obviously these value needs to be getted from only HR application. You have to define from which application the value needs to be mapped. Click on gear icon, Global Setting Identity Mapping. You have to select the respective attribute. Then you have to define the source mapping. Now we know the value needs to be get it from HR application and the value get it from particular column called department. We define from where the value needs to be mapped. By default, it won't reflect. What you have to do? You have to refresh all the attributes, particularly all the identity attribute needs to be refreshed that the value can be mapped from HR application to save on. To achieve that scenario, I'm going to execute the task. Call refresh identity queue. The top of this task needs to be executed by selecting this particular argument, refresh identity attribute. If this checkbox has been enabled, which will ensure all the identity will be refreshed, and along with that, all the identity attribute also will be refreshed. Let me execute this task. Now it's completed. Go ahead and refresh. Oh, here the attribute value is not getting updated. Why anyone is having any idea? For SP admin, why department value is not getting updated? We haven't mapped it to. No, we have done the mapping. We are doing it from the SP admin only, right? Admin does not have HM's application associated with it. Exe. This identity doesn't belong to HR application. Whatever identity we aggregated from the HR application only for those identities, this department value will be updated, right? SP admin is not belongs to HR application. Now we'll do one thing. We'll aggregate the data quickly from HMS application. Yes, connection successful. I hope you define everything. That's fine. Now we are going to aggregate the data. We'll see the attribute which we introduce. Is it going to be exist, appear for all the identities? On top of that, the value is going to be map or not. We will check now. That's done. See, for all the identities, department attribute is getting, department value is getting up here. This is all we have to map the value. Any question? Rakesh, I created a rule for the first name, last name, and I'm wondering why they didn't get populated. Maybe there is something wrong with the rule. We have to check. I hope you guys are clear. Any questions related to attribute creation? Or do you want me to create for other object, also for like in that element role? Rakesh, it is always about the authority application, or we can select other application as well to map that. Usually 100%. We will prefer only authoritative application only because this identity attribute plays the major role. Let's say any event needs to be triggered, whether it's joiner, mover, lever, any automation needs to be implemented, any bulk operation needs to be performed. We have to rely on the Sailpoint attributes. We need an authoritative source where we can trust. I hope you have written this rule. I copied. Oh, not this one. Remass sample rule. No, not this one. You're talking about the creation rule. Creation rule. Maybe, I'm not sure whether while aggregating the data, we selected the rule or not. We didn't select the rule. And you haven't created any rule. I think it's example. You have to write. Now let's learn how to create attributes for application and entire. And the rule accounts. You can try from your end. One more thing, for accounts you have to aggregate from the target application. We aggregate the. Let's say we got a requirement where we need to introduce attribute for accounts. Maybe for MS application. Then here you have to introduce a new attribute. What will you do? These attributes will be fetched from target application. Maybe we need to know what is the user type, whether it's a user account system, of what we need to find. We need to know. We need to identify. We need to introduce a new attribute for SMS application. How will you create the attribute? You have to create the attribute from this upon mapping. You have to introduce the name. Then you have to mention from which application. Maybe in the account attribute. From which application the account got aggregated. From the particular application name you have to mention. Here we don't have any limitation. We have to select authoritative application. On authoritative application, it doesn't matter. Does that make sense? We have to ensure the account got aggregated from which application. The same application you have to select from here as well. Now I'll teach you how to create attributes for application. Maybe we need to introduce a new attribute. The name called application status. Whether application is active or inactive, we are not sure. We need to introduce a new attribute. Here I'm going to add a new attribute. We have to navigate to application attribute. Click on new attribute. Here, I'm going to name it as application status. Click Save. Just go ahead and refresh. Whatever attributes we are going to introduce, it will be existing. It will appear for the existing application as well as for new application also. Here, I could see application status attributes getting up here, but we cannot add anything. We cannot provide any value because it needs to be editable first. This editable should be selected. First, we have to back from the application. Now it's editable. Go ahead and now we can store some value. Application status is active or inactive. Something we can type. Maybe we should have only 3 values. Here we don't have any limitation. User can add any value. We should have limitation. We have to be back. We can define what are the allowed values. Allowed value is going to be either active or maybe retired. From the drop-down, we can select application status, whether it's active or retired. Whatever attribute we are going to introduce, obviously these values will be stored in the database application also. Always keep in mind that if you're going to implement in real time, then this attribute needs to be. The column needs to be created in the DB database. And that activity will be taken care of in DB. Now, if you want to make it as a Boolean value, like true or false, yes or no kind of thing, then you can change the data type as Boo. If you want to update any date, maybe we have a. We need to know when this application got deleted and also if you want to appear the date or if you want to call in something like this, we can change it. Boolean means it's going to be true or false. Maybe if you want, you can make it as a mandatory field also. The last one may be. Now let's say who application status owner. We are going to introduce a new attribute. But from the drop-down, all the identity name needs to be up here. From the drop-down, all the identity name will be up here. This is all. We have to introduce a new attribute for application. Any question? For identity attribute and open attribute, we cannot add any value manually. The value needs to be created in the target. Correct. Particularly for identity attributes, we have to rely on the HR application. For our code attribute, it needs to be respect to target application. When it comes to application entitlement rule, these items belongs to us. We need to define the value. We need to introduce our attribute and we need to find the value. We cannot map it from anywhere. I hope you guys are clear. Chandan Kumar. Suggest. Any question? Then can someone help Rima to create an attribute for entitlement? Is it possible? Now we need to introduce attribute for entitlements. Maybe for entitlement, we cannot do it because we don't have any entitlement. You can take it as a system. Try to introduce attribute for entitlement from your own. But now can you create attribute for roles? Then, is it possible? Well, do one thing will import all the roles. Can you navigate to source data? Source data and try to import that file. That roles I can presume. Roles I can presume. Now can you introduce a new attribute for roles? And we'll see. Got. We can create attribute from here. Role configuration. Add new attribute. You can try. I'll be on mute. What we had is business idea. Is that? What do you think that is the only attribute name on mandatory for all options? Is that it or I need to run a task? No, that's it. Go to roles and try to check open any one of the role which we imported now. Not from here. Go to SEP. Select anyone up through click on edit role. Just you need to check whether the attribute which you introduce is getting up here or not. Edit role. Pre-approved. That's it. This is all we have to create attribute. Even though I assigned it. Default value, it's still not showing up. I have to manually go in. Sometimes it won't work. Maybe yes, for all the new role creation, the value will be default. By default, it will appear. They exist. I would like to teach you one more thing. We introduce a new attribute. Write this using these attributes B. Sometimes we may need to retrieve the information. We need to validate something. We need to retrieve the data using department activity. In such an adios, we can navigate to repository at once. Click on Advanced Analytics. From here, we can retrieve all the information. Already, you guys know the difference between standard attribute and searchable attribute. Standard attribute and searchable attribute is nothing which is extended. We can retrieve information using username, first name, last name, manager. That's fine. But we introduce a new attribute called department. But here the department attribute is not up here. Why? Because first this attribute needs to be declared as a searchable attribute. Go to Identity Mapping gear icon, Identity Mapping Department. You have to declare this activity as a searchable attribute that it will appear under the repository. I mean that, like Advanced Analytics, from there we can get the information. Now we declare this activity as a searchable attribute. Go to Advanced Analytics. Now it's up. In using this attribute, all the values can be fetched. We will easily identify and we will come to know the user. I mean how many user belongs to particular department. Same applies to entitlement attributes. Entitlement roles, and here we are having searchable attribute. First, we need to introduce the attribute and it needs to be defined as a searchable. And today we created role attributes. Somewhere it could be 3 of them. This is what the extended value. That's it. That's all about attribute creation. How to map the value. How to make it a searchable. Now, if here's that, we can proceed further. Now let's say you got a requirement where whenever users are going to submit request, it needs to be. It should allow user to define the priority of it. Whether it's a hybrid. I was saying in your system that LCA module is not configured right. No, the only thing was the AV. We won't be able to submit access request. Chandan Sonjani, can anyone have a screen? Because we need to perform couple of changes. Meanwhile, Rima, can you import that LCA module also in your system? What do I do? Create new application. No. We need to import the LCA module, right? We need to launch a console, then we need to import init XML file. A console. First, you have to navigate to gear icon. So, you have to navigate to bin directory, right? From there, you have to launch a console. Go to web app seek. And bin directory. Now we will import the LCA module. Now can you launch Sailpoint with other browser? Now the LCA module has been configured. We could say manage user access. Let's say now user is going to submit access request by selecting couple of items. Now we should allow the user to define the priority of this ticket. Whether it's a high priority ticket, low priority ticket, normal priority. We need to allow them to select. Second requirement, we should allow the user to attach some document. Attach some attachment. Because maybe it's a privileged access. If somebody wants to obtain this privileged access, they must complete some mandatory training. If requester is going to attach the course completion certification or some other thing, then manager can review and they can provide the approval decision. In such scenarios, we should allow the user, basically requester, to attach some document. Third requirement, maybe 1A2A, is the user right is a contractor. For a contractor user, the privileged access needs to be given only for a certain period of time. Maybe this access needs to be given only for 1 week. After 1 week, the access needs to be removed automatically. If you want to implement this feature, then you have to implement send, set and rise. This is what we are going to learn how to define this from Sailpoint. The first requirement is all about priority, right? Priority of the ticket. Just click on gear icon, go to Lifecycle Manager. From here, the first option can be selected. Enable requester to set request priority. You have to enable this checkbox. Click Save. Second requirement, click on gear icon, go to Global Setting. Go to IQ Configuration and Miscellaneous. From here, we can allow the user to attach some document attachment. Third requirement, we can allow the requester to set the sunset sunrise. What is sunset sunrise? Sunrise means access will be activated on a particular date. Sunset date means access will be removed automatically on a particular date. We enable sunset sunrise also. That's it. We enable everything, all the features. Rakesh, when we say a particular date, if we say the access is to be revoked on 12/1, which means will the access be revoked 11:59 p.m. on 12/1 or will it be 11 on 2/1? The user will have access until 11:59 p.m. Infinite. At Polo, clock access will be removed. Sailpoint will initiate the provisioning transaction to remove the access. Got? Now I'll go ahead and I'll submit the request. Before that, let me check whether a new system approval has been disabled or not. Anyhow, we imported the role today, right? It won't require approval. Because no manager and role owner and requester both are same person. Obviously, it will be auto. I'm going to request for Prism Super Business role. First thing, we can define the priority button. Whether it's high priority, low priority. Now it's appearing. Second, requester can attach some documents. Right. Something they can attach. Can you select some text file? I have any test. Maybe it's finally being here or else it's I don't think I have any. Go to source data. Source data. Terminologies. Maybe we need to upload this. It's uploaded. Third requirement. I'm going to define. This access will be added today after all the approvals are done. But this access needs to be removed. And maybe 31st of December. Click submit. Now access has been submitted. It got completed also. It's a high priority ticket we could see here. The moment you open the access request here, you could see attachment is there. Requester manager. Everybody can download this and they can view. Third access will be removed on 31st of December. I'm going to open the same user 18 today and we'll see. 18 to API some super business full has been added. Go to entitlements. Here you could see. The role is going to be deactivated on 31st of December. It's good. All three requirements we are able to deploy successfully. Now my next question is, let's see how we are supposed to validate. Are we going to wait for next 1 month to check whether access is going to remove on 31st of December or not? We need to validate as a developer right away. Right away. Run a report or is there in the database? Is there a table where it's stored? No. My question is how we are going to validate on 31st of December if the access is going to be removed or not. Isn't there like a time clock or time machine or something where we can set the time or move the date forward and see what we use? Exactly, that's what we are going to do now. In Sailpoint also, we have a time machine concept. Basically, we can move the date, we can change the time and we can validate. I think I lost the control. Let me rewatch. Am I audible? You are audible, but it says you are controlling my screen. I lost the control. Do one thing or else go to debug page. This is not the debug page, is it? Where is it? Just change the URL. And debug JS. Now, after debug slash try to type timemachine.jef. Time here. Yes, the URL after the IDM create. One debug is there. After debug, add time machine or jef. And men should be uppercase. In your system time machine, it's been disabled. Now do one thing. We have a double quote. You could see right? Time machine enabled. There is a string value. Can you copy that? This one. Yes, okay. Can you copy? I'll take control now. Can you have two? Now we are going to enable the time machine first. To enable time machine, first we need to navigate to debug page. Then we have to go to System Properties. Click on Configuration options. Then click on System Configuration. Somewhere here you can add the entry key that the time machine can be enabled. Entry key equal the double quote. You can add, and time machine enable needs to be activated. Then value should be equal true. Then we have to close the tab. That's it. This is all we can. Enable the time machine console. How did we get there? Sorry, Riksh. How did we get to the time again? To that configuration. Just click on Configure Configuration option and System. Now it's showing time machine still stable. What went wrong? Click on System Configuration. Maybe the object didn't save. Time machine enabled. What went wrong? Can somebody check it quickly? Tricky time machine. Is it enabled or enabled? D is missing. Here you could see now time machine is active. Now the date is end of December, right? I'm going to advance the time by 35 days. Now the current time is, current date is January 6, 2025. We can go ahead and we can check whether access has been removed for the user or not. Just go to Identity Warehouse. Open the same identity line A2A. The access would have been removed by the time. This is how time machine will work. Does that make sense? Can we check the log that the user had the access and it has been removed? Like history logs or something. Let's say what access has been removed. Sorry, once we populate Identity Warehouse. Just go to time. Once you have the access, you can go to time. We have someone that you have to pay attention to. I'm audible now. Yes, you are audible. We can hear you. If you want to check whether the access has been removed or not, you can check the identity snapshot. In the History tab, Identity Snapshot will be there. This identity snapshot will help you to investigate whether user already having access or not, whether user lost the access or not. Or else you can click on Intelligence. Go to Advanced Analytics. From here you can select Audit. Audit will capture all the transactions. By default, it won't be enabled. You have to enable if I'm not wrong. We done some transaction for A to a user, right? We can search it from here. Role removed at this timestamp. Thank you. That's it for today, guys. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.